What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Hubba hubba.
RadioWhat.com.
What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me, yes, little old me, at your next event. Today on the program, exciting, local Arkansas Little Rock musician Danny Rains will be on the program. Danny Rains. I get to go over to his house and hear a little bit more about who he is. And you get to hear it too, right here on the program. This week's shows, if you care to join me, I have two public shows this week. I'll be in Russellville, Arkansas on Thursday evening from 6 until 9 p.m. Where? Oh, at the Old Post Barbecue. That's right. It's the family-friendly karaoke show, video dance party, and karaoke jam. Come on out and visit with Ray Black and the whole gang at the Old Post Barbecue. They got great barbecue. Oh, just delicious. So smoky. The flavor is just second to none, really. If you want some good barbecue here in Arkansas, Russellville to be more precise, head over to the Old Post Barbecue. And why not come out on Thursday night from 6 to 9 for the family-friendly video dance party, karaoke jam. You're the stars of the show. Oh, and besides great barbecue, they also have frosty beverages for the adults. But I keep it family friendly, so you know you could bring everyone. Yes, everyone. Come to the Old Post, 6 to 9 on Thursday nights. And then on Friday, it's my birthday Friday. It's my birthday Friday, yeah. And I'll be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. My usual Friday night gig. Yeah, I'll be spending my birthday with, hundreds of my beautiful friends. And people that come out to the Rab on Friday nights. I like it. It's good. The people come out to play and sing, and they usually really, really are there just to have a great time. They have a full bar. The kitchen is open. They got the pool tournament. Oh, yeah. If you want to make some money on a Friday night, I encourage you. Check it out. Try out your hand at pool on Friday nights. And then on the party patio, they got shuffleboard, foosball, darts, giant Jenga game, giant checkers game. Yeah, they got it right there. If you want to have some fun, there's always something to do while you're waiting to sing on stage right next to me. Yeah, little old me right there at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, up on Hippie Hill, in case you don't know where it's at. That's from 8 p.m. until almost 2 in the a.m. So Thursday night at the Old Post Barbecue, 6 to 9, and Friday night at the Rab, 8 until past 1:30 in the evening. That's in the morning. So there you go. Past my bedtime at the Rab, Conway, Arkansas. Well, now you know where the parties are, and now it's time to talk to Danny Rains. I get to go visit with Danny Rains down in Little Rock at his house. So transporting myself down to Little Rock, Arkansas to visit with Danny Rains. Now. Like I'm trying to seduce you, I guess. This is this couch is.
I'll try to resist.
I really want to take a picture.
I'll sit like this. Hi. How you doing, babe? Danny Rains. I'm sitting in your house, man.
Yeah.
Keys Dan. What makes you famous? Well, first of all, take me through your house, man. This is nice. This is your place, your pad. Take me through all the knickknacks you got going on here.
Well, some of the stuff's mine. Some of it is Casey Sparks, my girlfriend's stuff, and she did a lot of the decorating, but kind of like old style, kind of vintage stuff. Got a Schwag lamp and actually I think that's about a 1905 phonograph.
Yeah, Victrola.
Yeah.
My mom's got a 278s, I think.
with one of those stand-up Victrolas. And my brother and I were wanting to touch it. Oh, we got to touch it. We want to touch it. And I think we ended up breaking it.
Oh.
Yeah. But it wound for our whole life. I mean, at least till we were teenagers.
Yeah.
So nice Victrola, man.
Yeah,
This
I've
is
only
cool.
had that about a year. My dad got it at an estate sale for probably next to nothing because that's what he does. And it was just parts and it was all dirty. And I was like, do you mind if I try to fix that up? And I got it running, and that was just this year or so.
Wait, you're mechanical too?
No, actually I'm not. Only when I have to be, and I really wanted to get that running because I'm fascinated with records.
I used to take my toys apart and never been able to put them back together.
Yeah, I took them apart. Yeah. I did.
They'll come apart real easy. But you put together a Victrola, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. The place smells good. There's a woman's touch in here.
Right.
The aforementioned Casey Sparks, I suppose.
That's correct.
Yes. You mentioned she's your girlfriend. That's nice. I like that. I like that. I don't know where the relationship was a year ago when I talked to Casey Sparks. It seemed like she was kind of out there. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later.
She's still out there, but that's where the relationship is.
I like that. The creatives. So, all right, this room is nice. It's warm, and there's some animals over there on that side of the
Yeah,
the room.
those are my guinea pigs. That's Kathy and Dot.
And is guinea pig something you've had your whole life?
No, it's not. Actually, I made a friend maybe 2 years ago, and she had a couple guinea pigs, and I don't really hang out with her anymore. But when we stopped hanging out, I was like, I got to get some guinea pigs because I liked her so much. She used to bring them over and stuff. So I got my own.
Where did you grow up?
Till I was 13, I grew up in southern Florida, south of Miami, actually.
Born and raised in Miami, baby. Keys,
You were?
Dan. Florida
Oh,
Keys.
Are you serious?
Now you know.
Homestead. Yeah.
Homestead. I lived in Homestead for a little while. Florida City, mostly was the near Bob's. Was it the Bob's Fruit Stand?
Bob's
I
Fruit
lived
Stand.
there. That's in Florida City.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And then I worked at one time at Homestead Miami Speedway. And
Oh, wow.
And when were you there?
Well, I was born in 77, and I was there till I was 13, so I guess I left around 89, 90, somewhere in there.
No kidding, man. 88, 89, that's about when I moved from Fort Lauderdale to the Florida Keys. So I was born in Miami, went to high school in Fort Lauderdale, went to the Florida Keys, and stayed in that area. So we
Wow.
chewed a lot of the same dirt, man. How was it
Crazy.
growing up for you in the
Well,
Homestead area?
I guess it was cool. I enjoyed it. I had good friends in my neighborhood, and I had other friends that were musicians and stuff. We were, of course, just starting out back then. But my school was a little bigger there than it was when we moved up to Arkansas, so they had things like guitar classes, and it was a good time. The era was the hair bands and all that kind of stuff, and I'm a little ashamed to say that I was kind of partook in that a little bit, but I was young.
Why? Why ashamed?
Well, I'm ashamed of some of them. Some of them are okay still. Actually.
Yeah.
Some of them had some staying power. But
Oh, I get to DJ on the weekends, and sometimes I pull out my hair bands file,
Right
and the
on.
kids love it. Not the kids, mostly they're my age, in the 40 to 50 area where I DJ on Friday nights, and I pull out those hair bands, and they just remember the glory days sitting
Yeah.
back in the school bus.
I mean, I still enjoy it sometimes, but there's something about it. You're singing along with like Axl or something, and you look over and see somebody that's just watching you, and there's just a little bit of shame that sets in.
Oh,
I don't know why.
No shame in your game, man. Don't do it. So, born in 77, Homestead, Florida. I mean, I guess I like, and I'm going to project my own journey, because I went from the ocean blue in Florida to the green of Arkansas. Was that an immediate jump from there to here? What brought you here? What brought you and your family here?
Well, my dad is originally from Arkansas, and he left Arkansas when he got out of college. Well, he went on to be a dentist, but when he got out of dental school, he was tired of the cold. He's not into the cold, and he had been going to school up in Wichita and some other places. I don't know. He moved around, but it was up north and it was cold. And he said, "Well, what's the warmest place I could go?" And he went down to Miami, Florida. That's where he met my mom. But he had always wanted to move back to Arkansas. So my whole childhood growing up, we would visit Arkansas, and they would talk like we were going to move to Arkansas someday.
Right.
I didn't think it would ever really happen, to be honest, but when I was 13, for some reason, they decided that was go time, which was an interesting age to move from a bigger area to what the town I moved to was about 1,500 people.
What was it?
Green Forest, Arkansas.
Green Forest, Arkansas. Yeah. That sounds teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mom and Dad still around?
Yes, and together.
And together. That is sweet, man. That's telling of your childhood to have parents that have stuck together and you know, through thick and through thin. So Mom's from South Florida. What did she do?
What did she do for
work? Yeah, what did she do for work? How was it growing up with Mom?
Well, it was good.
What did you learn from her?
She herself is a musician. She's a soprano. She can sing some really high notes, and also a piano player. But as far as work goes, she didn't get as much education as my dad did. She worked most of her life, but she did things like worked at the phone company. She was an operator for a long time down in Florida. And then she worked, when we moved up here, she worked for quite a while on the Branson Bell, which is one of those kind of music on the lake steamboat oriented shows in Branson, and she was like a waitress, and she did a little singing as part of the waitressing. I don't know, she's done various things. But
musical, that's cool. And you say education, that's very subjective, man. Education can be in school to become a dentist, or it can be on the streets and, you know, be a busker, be a musician, a working musician, you know, making some money that way and learning your way through. So, man, see, musicianship's in your blood. You've had this from an early age, and I'm guessing she taught you piano, or she...
Well, no, I never really... I took a little piano when I was in college, because I was originally a music major, but only for a year. I decided I wasn't going to be a jazz guitar teacher. I could play music and do something else. But
is that the end of your college career?
No. I went through, but I studied something else, geology.
Geology? Mm-hmm. Wow, go into that, man. Tell me about geology and where that took you, and then we'll veer back into your life here.
Well, the geology thing, you know, like I said, I was going to school for music, and I got kind of disenchanted with that whole idea, because I saw the musicians that were playing for money up in Fayetteville. That's where I went to school, U of A Fayetteville, and the guys down on Dixon Street didn't have a music degree, and then the guys that I knew that had music degrees were teaching guitar lessons or something in that academic realm that I really wasn't even interested in. So as much as I loved music still and was interested in pursuing it with seriousness, I didn't want to do it as my career in that sense. So I decided to drop out for about a year, and then I went back and still didn't know what I wanted to do, which is kind of the story of my life. But I just happened upon geology, which is not something that I grew up knowing about or being around. A lot of geologists, you assume, well, their dad was a geologist, or they grew up in the, you know, like the oil fields of Texas or something.
Shells on the beach in South Florida?
I mean, I picked them up, but I wouldn't say that I did it with any sort of scientific seriousness. I did it like a kid, but it was a different world for me, and somehow I ended up going into geology. And it's actually been great, because I think if I would have just done music my whole life, I'd be sort of one of those ivory tower guys that doesn't know anything but the one thing he'd always been interested in. And it made me a much rounded person and gave me a lot of perspective on life. Geology in general gives you perspective, because the Earth is so old, and the spans of time you talk about in geology really put your own problems into perspective. And I'm glad I ended up doing that.
Yeah. Did you do any work as a geologist?
I do it right now, yeah.
What?
I work for the Arkansas Geological Survey here in Little Rock.
That is cool as can be. We're here in Arkansas, the natural state, and there are so... Man, I've heard there's geology here. There is minerals and things that... Tell me... Expand, man. Tell me about the minerals and what's geologically cool in Arkansas.
Well, actually, being here in central Arkansas, which is where Little Rock is located, you're right at the convergence of 4 physiographic provinces, which is a big word. It just means like 4 different terrains that come together that are wildly different in their characteristics, which is a good reason why they probably decided to locate the only state survey office here. But if you go north, you've got basically flat sedimentary rock. If you go south, you're in the Ouachita Mountains, well, south and west. If you go off just barely a little ways to the east, you're off in the Mississippi Valley, which is just a big flat river valley full of soft sediment with no rock in it, which coincidentally, that's why they call this Little Rock, is because when explorers came up the Mississippi River all the way from basically the Gulf of Mexico, they didn't see a rock until they hit Little Rock. That was the first actual rock exposure they saw in all that trek. Anyway.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
See, you're teaching this old dog new stuff. And my listeners, too, man. Why is Little Rock named Little Rock? Now you know. Thank you, Denny Rains.
Yeah, no problem. So anyway, it's an interesting place to be located as far as there's diverse geology and a lot to learn and study around here.
So day to day, what do you do with the Geological Society? What is
Survey. It's
Survey.
the Arkansas Geological Survey.
Yeah.
And well, right now I've been working very intensely on a mapping project, which is basically mapping the rock, the bedrock, and the landslides in the watershed of Lake Fort Smith, which is a sensitive area because it's used for their drinking water.
It has been a problem as of late?
Any sort of reservoir like that has a sensitive use, they want to understand how sediment gets in the water and how to mitigate it or how to plan around having less of it in the future, or just understand how it works.
Is it naturally filtered, or is that you have to have a filtration system?
Oh, I'm sure they filter it before they send it into your tap. But anyway, that's kind of, it wasn't even my project, but I got kind of brought on board with it, and I've been doing a lot of that for about the last 2 months.
That's fascinating to me, man, because I just heard that New York, upstate New York, doesn't filter their water because it's naturally filtered through the ground.
Oh, really?
Something along those lines. These are fuzzy facts, so if you want to fact check me, please do, my happy listeners. But this is something I also heard on another podcast where, the natural filtration. It's amazing to me, man. Mother Nature's got us covered, Bo.
Yeah.
And you are studying that. That became your field of expertise, man.
That's part of it.
And it was just an off chance. You said,
really?
would you
really
just go down a line of things to study in college?
I was taking a intro to geology course.
Yes.
And I had a friend in there, and he was thinking about changing his major to geology from engineering. And I was doing really well in the class, and I seemed to be pretty good at it. And I was at a point where I was like, I need to pick something and do it. So I decided I'd switch courses and do that.
Yeah, that teacher and that friend changed the course of your life, man.
That's true.
That's cool. So now you got a bread and butter day job. A lot of musicians need that. I know I have a day job, man. People need that insurance job. You have an insurance job. Now you can pursue your loves, your passions, and that's something that you do. And
Yes.
You've done that from an early age. What was the first thing that you started playing when you were a kid? And was it in Homestead or when you came to Arkansas?
Well, as far as instruments, the first real instrument I played was the guitar, and still my primary instrument.
Yes. What kind of a guitar were you playing?
Well, my brother, who's an older brother of 3 years, he started taking courses in our junior high, the local junior high there.
This is Arkansas then already?
No. This is down in Florida. They didn't have that up.
What year was this?
1,500 people down. But this was, I'd say about probably 86 or 7 is when
86. I'm 86 or 7. 86 I graduated high school, so maybe about 10 years older than you.
Right on. Well, you look very young, actually.
Hey, win. So, okay.
Anyway, so I tried to get him. He was doing that, and then my dad was also. He got interested in it for some reason, And he never pursued it that much thereafter, but he ended up getting a guitar, and he was sort of learning how to play. And I tried to get my brother to teach me, and being, the older brother, he just blew me off, basically. So I kind of got out some books and magazines and sort of taught myself how to read tablature, which is kind of the cheat sheet way of reading music.
Did you have your own guitar, or did you pick up his?
No, I was using either his or my dad's.
Okay. Was Dad playing guitar too?
Yeah, he was playing a little bit, yeah.
Dad's a dentist guitarist.
Well, I wouldn't call him a guitarist now. He loves guitar, but he hasn't really kept with it. He's more of a collector and fan.
But he played a little bit back then.
He did. At that time, they were both playing, and
That's good.
I wanted to be in on the action.
So Mom and Dad were able to give you a little push into what you like to do.
Yeah,
and your brother, for that matter.
Yeah,
he's still around.
Yeah. My brother.
What's the bro doing?
Well, he's still a really good guitarist, actually.
What?
But he's also a medical doctor, and
Come on.
A couple of boys and a wife, and he lives in North Carolina.
I have I have a younger brother that lives in North Carolina. 4 kids, wife and 4 kids, man. So I guess that's what you do in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. You move the family there from South Florida.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels.
Yes. My younger brother. So yeah, and so he became a medical doctor, day job, and he still likes to play guitar at night. Does he play professionally at all?
No, he's never really been in bands, but he's good enough to do it. But he's just never, I don't know, for some reason that aspect of the music world we were getting involved in, he didn't go into it as much as I did. But
I worked down at Baptist Hospital in Miami, and there was a quartet of a group of doctors. I think they called themselves Pulse or something like that, and they played around town in their off time.
Wow.
So yeah, man, explore that other half of your brain, if it is indeed another half of your brain, man. You get to do the doctoring thing, save lives. Hey, that's noble. And then you go play some music with the people. They need to be entertained. But you're doing it. You're a geologist. Fantastic. Is it geologist? Is that the title?
That's the title.
And geologist, and then by day, and then at night, you go and entertain the people. But I'm going a little bit ahead of myself, Danny Rains. So first guitar, you pick it up, you teach yourself how to play.
Well, I taught myself wrong, actually. So, I read the explanation of how to read the tablature, but I had it sort of reversed, so I was playing everything upside down on the neck of the guitar. I guess after my brother heard me doing that, it was probably annoying enough that he said, all right, I'll show you how to play a couple things to get me to stop doing that.
What were the couple things he taught you how to play?
I think the first thing I ever learned was the melody to Stand By Me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
And then
most people that Smoke on the Water.
Yeah, a lot of people smoke on the water. And they're actually, they're probably comparably hard to play. But and I also learned Iron Man pretty early on, but it's a little fuzzy around that time as to what exactly came first.
This acoustic guitar?
Yeah, there was acoustic at that time, and then shortly after I got an electric when I started progressing as a musician.
Well, what kind of acoustic, and then what was the first electric?
Well, I only played other people's acoustics at that point. The first electric was a Kramer. I don't know the model, but it was like a red Kramer with one pickup and one of those box
sets you grab over at the guitar store.
It would have been now. I don't know if they even had those as much at that time, but it was not a very expensive guitar, but it worked. It did what I needed it to do for a while, and eventually I moved on to something else. But
well, take me through the years, man. You playing Danny Rains?
Well,
music time.
I actually played the same guitar. The next one I got, which I got when I was probably right before I moved up to Arkansas. I played that thing till I was almost 30 years old, honestly. And it's not that it was really that great of a guitar, but I'm not really a gearhead kind of guy. I'm not gear oriented. So if I know how to use a piece of equipment and it's functioning for me, I don't really even think about getting, the fancy gear or whatever. I just keep using it. And eventually I moved on, and now I've got something that's quite a bit nicer, a Telecaster, American Standard Telecaster.
Oh, he's not bragging, kids. He's bragging a little bit, but it's worth it. No, I know a cat down in that works at Palmer, Ryan Hinman. He takes these $100 guitars and throws a couple $100 worth of stuff into them and makes them into much more expensive sounding guitars.
Yeah.
So gearhead or no gearhead, you can make a $100 guitar sound pretty good.
You can,
and that's what you do. So, do you still have that first guitar?
I do. No, not the Kramer, actually.
Okay.
I guess I think of that second one that I played for so long. I feel like it's my first one because I had it so long and from such a young age.
What happened to the Kramer?
The Kramer, I guess we must have traded it in on the Peavey, which is the second one.
Peavey. I didn't even know they made guitars.
Oh yeah, they made guitar. They made everything basically music wise. But
wow, you hear Peavey speakers and amps and stuff like that. I never heard of Peavey guitars.
Yeah, they were never. I mean, they were always sort of one of those middle of the road brands, I guess you could say. They had some higher end stuff that was pretty good, but they never had the sort of glamour and the endorsements of the celebrities and stuff. But
no big names playing Peavey.
There probably was one, two, something like that. But
and you don't know them? Yeah, I mean, you being a Peavey aficionado.
I could be making that up. I'm trying to plug my old guitar. I want to throw it under the bus.
That's right. All right. This portion of the podcast brought to you by Peavey. All right.
I could be that guy.
He is that guy. Danny Rains for Peavey.
I just have to become famous.
Go ahead, say it. Danny Rains for Peavey.
Danny Rains for Peavey. It feels good, actually. It feels
Perfect.
right.
Perfect, man. I can see you in the magazine. Although there's no magazines anymore. Print is dead. Hey, I said that. I did. I said it. All right. So, all right. Going through the years, man. You got your Peavey guitar. Where's that taking you?
Well, it took me through a band I had, and after I got out of my undergrad, before I went to my graduate schooling, I took a few years off and played in a band in Fayetteville called Artificial Sun, and
cool. What kind of band was that?
Well, we did a lot of original stuff.
Oh, really?
But we did cover tunes too.
50-50?
Yeah, I would say that's about.
Wow. Who's writing the songs?
I was writing the songs primarily.
Come on. When did you start writing songs?
Oh, I started that. I was still in Florida when I first started that, probably. So maybe 12, I guess.
Well, what does it entail writing a song as a 12-year-old?
Well, they're pretty goofy, but
they've
got their moments. I'll find one once in a while just in my old papers and stuff and be like, well, there's some kind of cute things in there or whatever.
Yeah, whip them out. Put them on stage, man. Take them out there to the open mic. See what happens.
I don't know if I'm that confident in them.
All right, what was the subject matter in the songs?
Oh, it was things like wanting to be a rock star, wanting to tour the world, and things that were sort of...
Sounds like Nickelback, man.
Yeah.
They've done pretty good.
Yeah. They did more with it than I did, actually.
Never made it as a rock star. All right.
I should have stuck with those themes.
Okay. All right. So that's the original 12-year-old writing you. And, I mean, what compelled you to write? Were you wanting to be a poet, or was it specifically songwriting?
Yeah, it was specifically songwriting. I did kind of dabble in poetry later, but it was because I had started in the songwriting and then got interested in just words. But I don't know, but I sure did get interested fast when I don't remember exactly why I decided to try to write my own songs at first. But once I did, I just stuck with that, and that was a focus for me for, to this day still.
How many poems do you have?
Poems?
And where can we read those poems?
Well, I'm not really, I don't really pursue trying to publish my poetry. I did a little bit for a minute, and I got a few rejections, and then I just realized, what am I doing this for? I just like to do it, so I don't really work towards publishing it.
Oh, don't keep it all to yourself, man. You can independent publish now.
Throw
it out there.
I'm going to be honest. I mean, I wrote most of the poetry in my early 20s, and it's not really that good anyway. But I did that for a while.
Okay.
And,
so what's the difference between writing poetry and writing songs? Is it specific? You'll go, hey, I hear a melody in my head? Or, what is the all right. Standard interview question in 3, 2, 1. What is your writing process?
Well, actually, I think it varies quite a bit. But I would say one thing I can say for sure is I typically come up with some part of the music first,
Okay.
rather than the lyric.
So you hear it in your head, or do you play it on your guitar?
Sometimes I hear it in my head. Sometimes I'm fumbling around on the guitar. I might be trying to play something else, or trying to figure out how to play something else, or I might be in the shower and, a roommate was playing something loud on the stereo and I was hearing it wrong through the walls and the water. And there's various ways, but somehow I start with some sort of a melody, and then that will lead to the words and the singing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And, just sort of build on it. I would say it's not as much of a sudden moment of inspiration where you see the whole thing in front of you. Maybe that comes towards the very end, but there's a lot of trial and error and development throughout the process.
Okay. So what was the first song that you came up with that you're pretty proud of this one? How old do you think you were when you wrote that one and it was all the way through? And maybe you played it for somebody.
Well, I would say probably something that I would still play for somebody potentially. I would say when I was about 19, I think I recorded, I got a little 4-track tape recorder and recorded like 10 songs that I had been writing right around that time. And some of those I still kind of enjoy listening to and will show to people sometimes. So I guess it took me from whenever I started, maybe 12 to 19, to write anything that I think was, in retrospect, worthwhile. Or not worthwhile, that's the wrong word.
Yeah.
It was all a learning experience.
Between 12 and 19, any other interest, areas of expertise? Sports, cheerleading?
Not
drama club?
I was interested in cheerleaders, but not the cheerleading.
Okay.
Not that they were interested in me. I mean, I was a pretty quiet, kind of shy kid, but no sports at all, actually. Not really part of my family's tradition, watching sports or anything, and I just never really understood the appeal, but got a lot of friends that are really into it, and I'm into things like cheese dip, so I'll go to some of those sports parties sometimes.
I just found out that Arkansas invented cheese dip.
Yeah, well, Little Rock is supposedly
what?
There's a little place that's actually on Markham Street. You probably came in on Markham Street.
Yeah.
Right down the road there in front of Michael's, Michael's, whatever craft store. They have a little, it's like a fast food place called Mexican Chiquito, and it's supposed to be the birthplace of cheese dip.
Put that on the walking tour for the What Makes You Famous podcast. Mexican Chiquita in Little Rock.
That's
they
a great
got
idea.
Cheese dip, baby. I'll travel half an hour from Conway just to get their cheese dips from time to time. I might pick some up on the way back. But all right, so what does a young Danny Rains and his group of Stand By Me friends do? How many buddies did you have, and what did you like to do growing up?
Oh, we did a lot of riding our bikes around the neighborhood, is what I would say. And just, we weren't bad, like we didn't get into any serious trouble, but we were always pushing the envelope on what we could get away with. Just little stuff, skipping school and stuff like that. And
wasn't it lame when you skipped school and then you got home and you went, why did I skip school? This is terrible. I'm sitting here, hiding out from my mom and dad. You skipped school, then what did you do?
Well, we had a pretty epic school skipping day when I was, I don't remember, it was probably around, everything seems like it's around 12 years old. We'll just say from now on, everything happened when I was 12 years old.
Tell me about it, Ferris.
But we left school like second period, this is junior high, and we walked down the road and actually went into my friend, who wasn't even with us, into his property. His mom was home, but they had a little guest house behind their house we knew about, and we broke into that. Not like broke in, but I think it was unlocked.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't anything valuable in it, and we played
Statute
in there.
of limitations over, Danny Rains.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah. But we played in there and goofed off, and then we walked up the road to this little corner store we always rode our bikes to and got lunch. But somehow one of my friend's sisters saw us leaving. His little sister saw us leaving. It's like an 80s movie, like the plot of one.
Ferris Bueller, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly, yeah. And she went and called his parents, and so we eventually got caught, like, right at the end of the day when we were walking back to school to make our appearance and seemingly be coming out of school. My dad was driving around looking for us, and we got caught. But that was a pretty memorable school skipping experience. We didn't do a lot of skipping, but we did it right, I guess.
Hey, that was the one, man. See, all right, so you did have a group of friends that you could do stuff with. And kids today, these kids today, yes, I'm getting old right now. They don't go out and ride their bikes anymore. I'm trying to get my 14-year-old to get out, go ride your bike, quit playing on your Nintendo Switch or whatever. And she won't do it, man. I think I got her to go sit on the swing set one time. Come on, kid, get out of here.
Yeah.
It's amazing how one generation has done that. In my generation, your generation, you're out on your bikes all day long till the streetlights come on.
Yeah.
And then next generation, we're overprotective. And it's safer now than it was back then.
Oh, for sure.
Subjectively, it is safer now. Oh, well. Rant over, maybe.
Well, I think it's interesting because the young people now they have these cell phones, which are such powerful tools that can do such amazing things. I mean, you can make a movie that people would watch with a cell phone that an 11-year-old is walking around with. And I guess the things that we did as kids, we had to go out and find our interests elsewhere, and they've got them all in the palm of their hand. How that'll pan out for them later in life, if they'll be happy with that road that they're going down, I don't know. But maybe they will, and maybe they won't. It's just interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I spent my early days in Miami, Florida. Ooh, it's so dangerous down there. I was riding my bike miles to the movie theater to go watch kung fu movies all day long and then come on back home. Me and my group of Stand By Me friends, then later it was ATCs and out all day, back home. It's just, I can't get my kid to get out of the house.
I'm jealous because I didn't have an ATC, but...
Oh, yeah, I had that three-wheeler. Yeah, I'm bragging. I had the 185S back in 83. It was the first one that had shocks in the front, so all my friends were saying, ooh, man, it's so smooth. Can I borrow yours? Yeah, I'll borrow your YZ80. I borrowed their motorcycle and went back and forth. So, yeah, riding bikes, man, and having fun with friends, that's where it's at. Get outside. Go do some stuff. That makes you a more of a person, man. It rounds you out. You were saying you had to take geology so you could learn more experience and then become a better songwriter, even have some life experience. Mm-hmm. And that's what you do, man. So, yeah, you get 19 years old. You got that first song. Mm-hmm. What did your parents think about you pursuing your songwriting career? I mean, did they say, hey, get a real job and then you can do that? Or
yes, sort of, but I'll have to admit that I was not a good student in school, going to high school and stuff. I just, barely passed along, and so I don't blame them for that. But they supported me in the sense, like my dad took me to guitar lessons and bought me guitars for Christmas and things like that. So, they were supportive of that, and probably hoped that I would eventually, which I did, become interested in other things and things that could support me as an adult.
And you did. You got a nice house here in Little Rock, Arkansas. This is sweet. Yeah. Good digs. And so how the relationships growing up there? 19-year-old man. Any girlfriends, or did you?
Well, like I said, I was kind of shy and a late bloomer, so that was probably around the time that I first started dating anybody.
Wow.
Really,
okay.
To be honest.
Yeah. So how did that pan out, and where'd you go from there?
Well, Casey is probably where I am right now. So.
Well, this is jumping way forward. So all right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what exactly you mean by how did that pan out. I've stuck with dating girls, so I guess I liked it.
Oh, cool. So mostly you're mostly a shy person, but you play music. So let's go back to 19. You got that first song. Where did it go?
Well, I probably didn't really market myself at that time, but it was mostly something that I handed out to friends and stuff, and I was excited that just, I had a few people among my circle of friends that I respected that really liked it and thought it was great stuff. But
Oh, so you recorded it and
yeah.
passed it out, put it on CD or tape or?
It was a tape at that time.
Yeah. All right.
It was a four-track tape recorder and then recorded onto a tape.
How many do you think you passed out?
Oh, back then maybe 12, 15, I don't know.
You had that group of friends. They
Yeah.
knew who Danny Rains was. Hey, have you heard Danny Rains' new track? Check this out. All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, all right. And where did you go from there, music-wise? 19. You're in Arkansas. Whoopig Suey up there at the Fayetteville.
Well, I went to college. This was around the time I was in college.
And you had
for
the
music.
band, right?
Well, that was before the band, but
Okay.
I was studying jazz guitar at that time, and I was pretty interested in it. I don't do it as much as I did back then, but it certainly taught me a lot, and I've retained a lot of the chops that I got from that time and knowledge and stuff. So it was a good experience. I was interested in that, and I was also interested in I went a little bit away from the rock stuff and was into more of a folk kind of old time music, like country blues, scratchy old blues records and stuff for quite a while, and I was trying to write some of that stuff or just incorporate that sound into what I was doing. But I just did a lot of writing really throughout my 20s. I would go through periods where it would ebb and flow, but sometimes, I'd write 10 songs in one season, and then sometimes I wouldn't write anything for a couple years.
So where do you feel you are genre-wise to put you in some kind of a box, or do you flow through different types of music when you write?
I do flow through different types of music, and I always have. And I guess there's drawbacks to that, and there's pros to it also. But as I've gotten older, I've made several albums by now.
Whoa!
I mean, none of them are on the Billboard 100.
Maybe they will be now. We need to find out where to find Danny Rains' music. And what was that first one? The first album? What would you call that?
Well, that was the tape, the 10-song tape.
10-song
I didn't
tape.
have a name for it. I think I call it Danny Rains, probably.
That's your title album, man.
I mean, this is a couple of things that I did. I mentioned that band in Fayetteville. This was actually right before I found the guys that I ended up playing with in the band, and I just recorded this myself at home.
You're holding up some actual CDs with your music on it.
Yeah, I forgot we're on talk radio here. And this is a very old one. The first one I'm holding here, that's the Artificial Sun album from, I was probably 23 or 4 when I did that.
What year was that? You born in 77? I got to do math now.
I don't know.
2000 maybe?
It's the early 2000s.
Early 2000s. And read the track list on that. Is that available anywhere?
Just right here in the living room.
Wow, man. Put it out there. Spotify, iTunes. It.
Well, I do actually have some stuff online. It's sort of a eclectic mix of stuff, older and newer, probably more newer, but I don't really have anything for sale right now. I have in the past had some stuff, and I'm about to finish what I think is probably the best thing I've ever done, which is a new album I've been putting the final icing on, and I'm pretty excited about. And I'll probably get that into the right format and shape with whatever, where I can sell it online and
absolutely
stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
Danny Rains. And then once they find that album, they're going to want to find out, hey, where did he start? What's more of his early stuff? And you have it right in your hands, man. Put it out there. What's the track list on that one, Danny Rains?
Which one?
First album?
The first album. Let's see what we got here. We got Willowy Woman, which is probably still one of the ones that I go back to and still show people from that era.
You still playing that?
I don't play it anymore as much, but I play it for people, and people like it. You've played it on the radio.
Yes, I have.
Yes. White September. I haven't thought about that in 10 years, probably. Wandering Around, Shiver in the Dark, Slipping Down.
What kind of songs are these?
They're all sort of in a folk rock genre with a bit of alternative to it, I guess you could say.
How many people in the band? What kind of instruments?
This one, just me.
Just you.
Eventually, I put an actual band together, and it was a 4-piece band. But this was sort of when I was thinking about putting a band together, and I was inspired to write a lot, and that's sort of what made me want to put a band together. And I was recording this stuff at home. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not just me. Now that I think about it,
Okay.
I forgot. My best friend since junior high, and we're talking in Arkansas, not in Florida. Curtis Van Sant, off and on, we played music together and been friends since 8th grade. And
Shout out.
he came and performed the drum tracks.
Yeah.
And I laid everything over the top of that.
With your little 4-track.
Well, at that point, I had an 8-track.
Yeah, he's got an 8-track. He stepped up.
I'd gone from magnetic tape to I think it was an ADAT or something like that.
Digital, man. That's cool.
Yeah,
What's an ADAT?
ADAT. It's a obsolete format that I still have a bunch of clunky old discs of it, but I don't have any way to play them anymore.
Oh, I'm sure it's still got its advantages.
Yeah.
I remember when minidisc was going to be the wave of the future. I think Stallone had his movie The Professional. I went back to broadcasting school in the early 2000s, and they had minidiscs, and they said, "Oh, this is it. This is going to be it." Nope. Nope.
How much music could they get on one of those? Do you remember
Yeah,
at all?
I don't remember. Maybe 60 minutes. About comparable to a CD, 70 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I know Stallone had that whole movie where he was listening to Sharon Stone on his mini disc, his Sony mini disc, and
They were really pushing it.
oh, they were pushing it hard, man. But it didn't pan out. So you still have some music left over and in some formats that you can't even play anymore.
That's true.
You need to relay those tracks, man. Update those versions. Get them out there.
Maybe a couple of them.
Please do. The people are thirsty for some Danny Raines music, man.
Well, we got the new album coming out, or I've got a squirrel in my pocket. No, I've
Yes.
got a new album coming out, although I have a lot of friends that are playing on it.
Yeah.
Casey, for instance, who's an amazing singer and can improvise harmony vocals like nobody I know, does several backing vocal tracks on this album. Anyway, it's gonna be good. I'm pretty excited about
So
it.
you say you had 4 albums. You got 2 of them in your hands. Number 1 is just it's a regular CD, no real cover, but you did burn. Oh, you did have the tracks laid in to the laser. To the disc. Did you do that yourself, or was that something you had to send out?
No, I sent off for it. I've always sent off for that sort of thing. I have recording equipment, but I don't have mass production equipment.
Right, and then the second album is in your hands as well?
Yeah, this one was after I moved down to Little Rock. This was in 2012, so I had a period probably of 5 or 6 years without recording anything.
You were just digging in the dirt, man.
Yeah, I was
Geology.
going to school and doing other things and developing other aspects of my life, and then it came back, and I got really inspired and wrote this album in, I don't know, probably a year and a half, and recorded it in about another year at home again. And that same drummer is playing on some of these tracks, and then there's some of them that I learned to program digital drum tracks, which they're pretty sophisticated with that stuff now. You can make tracks that sound like a real drummer. I've fooled a lot of real drummers with my tracks.
Yeah.
Of course.
What inspired you to move from Northwest Little Rock to Northwest Arkansas to Little Rock?
I got the job at the Arkansas Geological Survey. So
And what year was that?
I've been working there for 10 years now. So,
10 years. He's got staying power.
yeah.
That's a good
It
dude
was
right there.
2009 or 10, somewhere around there.
And what inspired you to get back into music?
I don't know. It's an abiding interest. It never quite leaves me. Sometimes I think it's gone, and it'll come back around. And
And you had your PV guitar up there and just brought it with you? And
I think I had moved on by then. I do have the PV still, but I wasn't playing it at that point. I think when I was in that band in Fayetteville, that's when I upgraded to. I went through several guitars. Then I moved to Little Rock, which, if you don't know that much about Arkansas the geography and whatnot. There's very little crime in Northwest Arkansas, but there's quite a bit of crime, especially property crime in Central Arkansas. So as soon as I moved here, my guitar got stolen.
Perfect.
I think that was when I got the Telecaster.
Welcome to Little Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry to hear about the guitar getting stolen,
Hey, it has to happen, I guess.
but you got the Telecaster. Okay. And what's the advantage of having a Telecaster? What's the difference in the feel between the Peavey and the Telecaster?
Well, the Peavey is one of those kind of, like, you remember the real hot shot kind of guitarists in the late 80s, all the finger tapping and the whammy bars and the dive bombing tremolos and all that stuff.
Eddie Van Halen with his tapping.
Yeah. It's set up for that. It's got like the double locking tremolo and all that stuff. It's not like a really fancy one, but it did all that. And the Telecaster's a really straightforward, just a chunk of wood that's built really solid and stays in tune and has a great sound. So I couldn't be happier that I upgraded to that. But,
very cool. Yeah. So, I mean, you got back here in 2009, and when did you pick up music again? What inspired you?
This I was finished in 2012, so I guess almost immediately when I moved back here.
Did you go to a show and say, yeah, I used to do that?
I don't remember exactly what made me decide to do that, but, it's probably just you have experiences in your life and moving to a brand new town where you barely know anyone and starting a new job. It's a new chapter in your life, and sometimes you get inspired by those kind of things. You don't even realize it's happening. But
you did, Danny Rains. You got inspired, and you made an album in 3 years, 2012. Mm-hmm. And what are the tracks on that? And what's the difference between that one and your first album? You were primarily a soloist on the first album. Couple helpers here and there.
Right.
Your best friend drummer. And then the second album, was it still a solo effort with a few friends here and there?
Primarily this was. I eventually did get a band together that played some of this stuff out live around Central Arkansas. But at that time when I was recording this, I was mostly doing it myself, other than my drummer friend that I already mentioned. It's got 14 tracks on it. I guess the names wouldn't mean that much to you.
But what kinds of music is still in the folk genre?
It's
in that
with
area?
the alternative, definitely with a heavy element of alternative. Like, I hate to use the word folk rock because it sounds, I don't know, somehow old-fashioned, but I can't think of what other...
Like when Dylan plugged in.
Yeah. I can't think of what other term to use to describe it, so I use that, but it's definitely got more of an edge to it than... it's not John Denver.
Yeah, but you hit the dirty on the guitar pedal a little bit.
Oh yeah,
a little distortion there.
For sure.
Okay, all right. So they got that to look forward to. And that one's available online?
It used to be. I'll have to make sure that they still that you can still get it. It's probably online, but if you clicked on it, it would probably say this is temporarily unavailable. But because I haven't maintained my vendor status.
Let's fix that, man.
Yeah, I need to do that.
All right, so 2012 second album, and how did that do? Did you give that away, or were you selling it at your merch table?
Well, this is 2012. Honestly.
2012.
Yeah, I sold a few. I've sold a few of them here and there. The band I was in, we did a lot of cover stuff in addition to doing my original.
What was the name of that band?
We were called the Carney Barkers.
The Carney Barkers. Who came up with that name?
I was actually, I came up with it, but...
I was a one-time Carney Barker down in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, hot dogs, fresh and hot, good to fill your hungry spot.
I can see that.
Just yelling it out.
You got the knack for it.
So, carnival barking, yes. You do that in college when they were doing charity work. And that was one of them at Broward College in Fort Lauderdale. Giving me reminiscence of my glory days. You're a South Florida boy, moved to Arkansas, just like me, man. I like it. So, 2012, you're playing on the streets. You got your band, Carney Barkers. How many pieces? And
we were a 4-piece again. We had there's a local musician. Her name is Judy Warner, and she plays keys and also fiddle, actually.
Wow.
My album was not fiddle oriented, but we got together and decided to try to just sort of make it mesh and develop parts for the original songs, and then also did a lot of rock music and developed kind of parts that would work for her instruments that weren't originally in the songs. And then we were a 4-piece band. We had David Flake playing the drums for us, and a guy named Guy King was playing bass.
Yeah.
And we mostly played around Little Rock and just sort of, I guess our biggest thing we did, we played like an afternoon show at Riverfest one time on the big stage, you know.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Man, as a listener, and when I go to a shows, and when I do get the chance to get out and support my local artists, local musicians, I do like it when you throw a curveball. I go to a show and, I'm going to go see a rock show, and all of a sudden, bam, there's a saxophone. What? Bam, there's a fiddle. Where did that come from? I wasn't expecting to hear that. I was expecting to hear a hair band, cover band, or something. Yeah. And then, you throw out a fiddle, and people are like, whoa, you blow minds, man. Mm-hmm. And you give them that little extra bump. So you bent your songs to fit that musician's talents, and that's great. That's great. I'm so jealous of musicians. I have 3 guitars. I can play 3 chords at most. Nothing I could ever take on stage like you.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yay! I was learning from a jazz doctor down in Miami who played in that band. Oh my gosh, Weinstein, Dr. Weinstein.
Was he an orthodontist?
No, he's a emergency room doctor. Okay. And I worked in the emergency room with him, and he would teach me. He says, one time we had, oh my goodness, the Blues Brothers guitarist, Matt Guitar Murphy.
Wow.
He was one of our patients, and Dr. Weinstein went right to him, and says, I'm a blues guitarist myself. You're not a blues guitarist. You're a jazz guitarist. but it was funny. Yeah, it was. Matt Guitar Murphy showed up. But that was fun. So, but you've studied jazz guitar. You've studied other types of guitar, and that has shaped your musical influences, man. And it all shows in your record. So, record number 2. Where do you go from here? You're playing that album. You got it on the merch table. Mm-hmm. It's selling pretty good. Where you're playing in Little Rock primarily. Yeah. Have you gone anyplace else outside?
Well, just sort of regionally, occasionally a show outside, but not like a tour or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had a job, so
right,
which is probably a good thing.
Well, no, you got to give up a lot if you want to be a touring musician.
That's true.
Yes, the chance is that you could make a bunch of money, but you got to give up a family. You got to give up a regular job. You got to give up a lot of things to be a touring musician.
For sure.
And that's something that you didn't want to do. You're cool with playing here in town.
Yeah, and my interest was more really towards writing and recording. I mean, since I got that original 4-track recorder when I was 19, till now, I've continually upgraded my knowledge and equipment for recording. So I've always been interested in that too. That was always my primary focus, more so than live performance, I would say, over the years. Although I've been in a bunch of bands, and most recently I've been in one up until about a month ago, and now I'm starting a new one. But
I'm in
a new one.
Carney Barker's was up until when?
That ended probably, let's see, six years ago, maybe.
6 years ago. All right, and people just go their separate ways.
Yeah, we just decided. To try other things, and
what other things did you do?
Well, I was going out to open mics and stuff, and met a guy, Bud Jones is his name. He goes by on stage anyway, and ended up. I learned to play the bass basically because I do home recording, and I needed bass on my tracks, and I always really liked laying down the bass part and coming up with the bass part for my own stuff. And I had a bass, and he was looking for a bass player, so we ended up playing together for about 3 years, and playing all around Central Arkansas, other places, Hot Springs, Batesville, whatever, a lot in Little Rock and North Little Rock. And up until, a couple of months ago, I was doing that. And then just writing my own stuff on the side, and we did some of my stuff and some of his original stuff too.
That's cool. Bud Jones, big name in town.
Yeah.
He plays a lot all over town. Casey Sparks wandering through. What was the little secret?
She was correcting me on how long I played with him. She says 5 years. I think it was 4 years, but
listen to the woman; she's always right.
Yeah.
If women don't think they rule the world, they do. They can make us do whatever they want. That's just me. But I'm sure it's not just me.
No, I'm with you.
All right. So, Danny Rains, man, you were playing with Bud Jones for 5 years.
Yeah, and towards the end of the Carney Barkers, I put out another album that was 14 or I can't remember if it's 14 or 2015.
Yeah, but you were playing with them on that album, or another solo effort?
I had some guest appearances by some of the members, but it was another solo project. And we were doing some of those songs out live around our gigging schedule.
How's the reception on all these songs? Are people clapping and learning them a little bit?
Dead silence. Nothing but... No, I'm just kidding. No. Some of them get great reception. One thing you learn as a musician that's performing live is some songs are listener track songs, like album songs, and some are bar songs. And so, the stuff that's easy to digest, I would say, or digest isn't the right word, but to wrap your mind around, and it's catchy. Definitely, I get a lot of compliments on my songwriting. I mean, I'll just say that. But early on, I did some of the more complicated stuff that should have been the more album tracks, and it was a learning experience to figure out what I should do live and what I should wait for people to buy the CD for. But no, yeah, I get a good response. I mean, I still go. Right now, I've been going out to some open mics that Casey has just recently started hosting around town. She does one at Markham Street Grill on Thursday nights, and another one in North Little Rock in the Argenta area at Four Quarter on Mondays. And I've been going to a lot of those and doing a lot of my original stuff and kind of getting back into performing that stuff out for a live audience. And I've been getting a great response. So.
Well, good. All these years, Danny Rains, are you developing a following? Or how the groupie situation? Are people coming along and wearing your shirts and screaming along with you? Yay, Danny Rains!
Yeah, I've got a few fans. I think I don't know if I would go as far as that, but I think I saw a cop kind of following me on the way home last night. But.
That might be a whole nother situation. No, it's nice, man. Even me, as old as I am, I'm DJing since '86, and I got people that follow me from city to city. I'll go to Little Rock and Conway and Russellville and Heber Springs, and it'll be the same couple guys. I'm like, oh, that's cool. People are following me around. So people develop a relationship with their artists, and you have some of that. And do you respond to emails and Facebooks? And
I do.
And you develop a relationship. Now with social media, it's easier to keep in contact with your fans and get feedback right away. What you think of that one? Oh, I thought it was great. Or the melody was kind of you're going to have hater stuff, but do you respond to a lot of the tweets? Or
oh, sure. If anybody contacts me, I'm more than happy to talk to them, answer questions, or whatever they want to talk about. I mean, I'm very approachable.
Very cool, Danny Rains. So, album 1, album 2, sitting there on your couch arm. Album 3, out there in space.
I have some of those somewhere. So with that one, what I ended up doing, because I'm obsessed with tweaking my recordings,
please,
is I had the album art printed on the CD, but I burned them myself as I went so that I could keep changing everything.
Yeah, George Lucas style on his Star Wars. Let's go back and redo this movie. It's never finished, man.
And people that already like the song, they're usually like, I don't know if I like this.
Music and movies are never finished; they're abandoned.
So I probably really shouldn't do that on the next album. I've been debating whether I'm going to do that, but yeah. So basically, I've got a few of those burned in the closet, but I've got a bunch of blank ones. I can always make more of them whenever I want to.
Yeah.
I even interchange the songs a little bit sometimes, depending on if I'm going to an open mic, because sometimes I'll take some and even sell some at an open mic, and I'll put more of the stuff that I like to play on the acoustic guitar solo on it. It's kind of a cool experiment to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you can experiment on stage with what you want, but leave those tracks that you have laid down alone. Hey, it's finished. It's finished.
But I might want to put Jar Jar Binks or the musical equipment.
You might want to put another bantha walking through. No, stop doing that. Was it Han shot first? Okay, I said it. So. All right, derailing the podcast, Danny Rains, man. So here we let's go back. All right, you got your third album, and that was just after you your time with Carney Carney Barkers, and then you went to Bud Jones. Any music you put together with Bud Jones? I mean, you were writing your own stuff, and he was learning it with you, and you were playing it live. Did you lay any tracks with Bud Jones?
He does make an appearance on at least one track on this album that I'm just finishing up.
Excellent.
So this thing's been going on for probably at least 4 years, the recording of this new album. And so actually there's quite a few guest artists on it. And there were on the one right before that, the last one when I was in the Carney Barkers.
How many tracks on this one?
I believe I got 12 tracks on it. So I had a couple I ended up nixing. Talking about, do I have a genre that I stick to, or do I pass through all kinds of genres?
Right.
I've tried to limit the scope of the album somewhat. So actually, most recently, a couple of the songs I've written have been kind of hip-hop songs. Which is totally outside of anything else that I do.
Yeah.
And they came out really well, and a lot of people are really pleasantly surprised when they hear them, and they get a great response, but those aren't going to be on the album.
Doing a little spoken word in there? A little rap?
Yeah. No, I'm full-on rapping.
Full-on rapping?
Yeah.
I like it.
And then I also had a Christmas song, which is kind of a novelty Christmas song that gets a great response around the holidays at open mics, but I left that off because, I don't know, you can't really have a Christmas song on an album unless it's a holiday album, I feel like.
That's called bonus track.
That's true. That's true.
And the other thing, I've been talking to a lot of these younger musicians, there are no albums anymore. It's all tracks.
Yeah.
You just put a track out. You finish this little track, you put it on your Apple or your Spotify, and you just go track by track. You can go that way. And now you do have those two, or how many hip-hop songs, 2 or 3?
I got 2, and then one that was in the making that I never finished.
See, now those 2, you can release those as little singles out there, put them out in the world. Hey, maybe you sell 1, maybe you sell 50,000. But people need to hear that stuff. You've
develop like an alternate ego or something, whatever.
You could be the Chris Rains of you.
Wasn't there? Didn't Garth Brooks do that
Chris
for a
Rains?
minute?
Yeah. Chris Rains.
Was it Rains or was it Rains?
Chris Rains. Yeah, I thought it was.
Chris something, yeah.
I thought it was.
Because my name's Rains. So
I know your name is Rains. You should remember that. But okay, that's more.
You might be right. I mean, my memory.
Talking to Danny Rains, but alter ego, man, could be your guy, man. But don't do that. Just be Danny Rains singing this stuff. Because Taylor Swift, she'll sing anything. Kenny Rogers sings anything, man, anything. So be versatile. Don't limit yourself. I like that. So, you've gone through the trouble of creating this music, laying it down, mixing it. Are you doing everything by yourself, or do you have somebody that helps you produce?
Friends and other musicians who have good ears for music give me advice. One thing that happens is when you're doing that kind of a project by yourself, or most of it by yourself, is you get kind of fatigued and you almost can't really hear what you're doing anymore. So putting fresh ears on it of a friend or something can be a big help, and so I take a lot of advice from other people, but I do the recording and mixing and mastering primarily myself.
Wow, what does that entail? Okay, I've heard of mixing and mastering, and I've dabbled a little bit in it. What is mixing and mastering, if you can go through that?
Okay. Well, it's a very obsessive kind of activity. All of it really is. So you got to be an attention to detail oriented kind of person to have an interest in it, I would say. But basically, you think of mixing as like you've already recorded all the different instruments and voices and so forth, and you're setting the volume levels so it sounds like a good mix of the band, or like what a band should sound like. And then you're also adding little nuances like effects to it to make it meld together, and also to just create interest in the sound of it.
So that's the mixing part.
Yeah, you're
Is
EQing
mixing
everything.
the different instruments and sounds.
Yeah, and adding effects. Now, when you get all that done and you like the way it sounds, if you compared it to something that was on the radio track would be just so head and shoulders louder. Because basically what they do is they have a tool that's called compression, where they take the high, really loud stuff and the quiet stuff, and they squash it all down to where it's all sort of closer to in the same volume range. And then that enables them to turn up the overall track. And that's a lot of what you're doing when you're mastering.
Okay, that's the part I do with the podcast. I do have Adobe Audition, and there is even a button that takes the top part down -1, and then it brings everything back up, to the peak, and makes everything level. Yes, and that's what you're doing with mastering.
That's a big part of
mastering.
It. Yeah.
I'm learning stuff. I'm learning that I've been doing this, but only with vocals. I really don't do it with music. But it has to be a whole nother animal, mixing all these different pieces of because, all right, I've heard, and this is other people, that you have to have a producer, somebody with a different ear, because if it's mixed by the guitarist, what are you going to hear? All guitar.
Right.
If it's mixed by the drummer, boom, boom, boom. Where's the guitar? Where's the vocals?
Yeah.
So you have to have a discerning ear, somebody who's indiscriminate.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, in theory, I agree with that, but I hope that I've reined myself in enough that I'm able to mix something with an ear towards making something balanced that people would want to listen to instead of just boosting. I mean, it makes sense, because if you played almost all the parts anyway, you can't boost them all, right? So,
yes. He reined himself in. That might have been a pun, Danny Rains.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, well, okay. What were the names you got punned on your name growing up, Danny Rains?
I remember one guy used to. He was trying to make fun of me, and he would say Danny Rains a lot, and that's really the only one that I really remember. I mean, there wasn't any really good ones. There weren't any zingers.
Good one, pal.
Yeah, I was just always like, "What? I don't know what to tell you."
Yeah, Dan the Man. I got that in my whole life,
Oh yeah. Dan the Man for sure.
So we got two Dans on a couch, just talking.
Yeah.
All right, we've gotten right to here, and you're doing open mics. Are you getting any gigs that 50,000 fans or going to the, I guess it's not the Verizon Arena, it's the Simmons Bank Arena. 18,000 of your closest fans. Are you open to playing, headlining there?
That's a long-term goal, but you add them one at a time. I think you just gotta get out there and play your stuff for anybody that wants to hear music, and hopefully wow them with what you got if you're doing it right, and that's what I'm trying to do. And like I said, we're putting together a band. We're still deciding on a name. We've been at it for about 6 or 8 weeks now, I think, rehearsing.
What are the names? What do you got in the hat?
Okay, well, let's see. This one, it's already been nixed, so I always thought it'd be the Dirty Moves.
Okay. All right. Put that in the Wu-Tang gang. What is it? The Wu-Tang rapper generator to get your name.
Yeah. I need to get one of those. We toyed around with Well, Casey's had a name for a while, which is Chaining Jaded.
Oh, see, that one needs to come back, man.
Yeah, that is a good name.
And it's out there already. She's already got all the social media marketed out there.
Hey, now, whose side are you on?
I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying
it's out there.
I agree with you. It's a good name.
Yeah.
But we're still toying with it. I came up with an idea earlier.
So who's in the band that you're putting together so far?
A guy I just met recently. I can't even think of his last name right now. His first name is Mac. What is it? Myers. Bayer.
Sorry, man. No, Matt Bayer. New relationship. Sounds good. What is he playing?
He's playing guitar, and I'm playing bass in this one too because I still love playing the bass.
Yes.
I've gotten better at it over the years.
Do you have a good bass face?
I like to think that I do. I don't really know. I never really look in the mirror, but I think that's part of being a bass player.
Exactly.
If you look in a mirror too much, you're probably not a bass player. But
you got to come up with that style, the bassist, man. I watch bassists a lot of times, man. I'm up there, and they're just putting their tongues out and bugging their eyes out and really getting into it, man.
Maybe I need to up my game a little bit.
Do it. Like. Oh, it's excellent. Hey, Flea and Sting, good bass players.
Yeah.
With stage presence.
I've been thinking about wearing a diaper. Remember,
Flea
did that.
Do it. Just socks. A sock would be good. Yeah, that'd be the adults only show. All right. So, who's besides Matt Bayer?
We got a guy that did some playing with me in the last band, the Bud Jones band. Donnie Ramsey. He's a great drummer. Local guy, and then Casey and me.
Okay.
We're doing the singing, and she's probably going to do a little guitar playing. Mac's a great guitar player and he's pretty much got a photographic memory for your ear would be.
Yeah, playing by ear. I have a cousin, Timmy. He just hears something. Oh, man, how did you do that, Timmy?
Wow.
He did it.
Well, I think Mac is probably one of those kind of guys because he seems to know, like, every classic song. I mean, he's just mentioned one and he starts playing and I don't mean one riff. He plays like the whole song.
Wow.
So he's been great. We've been adding a lot of material, and so we're basically trying to learn like 15 or 20 cover songs at the same time right now, which is challenging.
That gives you an hour of music, about 15 songs an hour.
And as soon as we get something we feel like is long enough and presentable enough, we're going to be out playing somewhere.
Do it, man.
Whoever will put us up there. And we're going to definitely do a lot of original music in the band eventually when we start really fleshing out the material we're going to do. And Casey's got a lot of great songs, and we're going to do a lot of my songs. And
so where can we find a Danny Rains and a Casey Sparks, for that matter? Mondays and Thursdays, you already mentioned. Mondays where?
The Mondays are in North Little Rock at the Four Quarter, which is a great venue. I don't know if you've never been there, you check it out. They got a great stage, and it's just a cool place to play if you're a musician. Come check out the open mic or just come listen. And then the other one is Markham Street Grill, which is just down the road from where we are right now, on Markham Street here in Little Rock. And that's been going
sweet,
great,
man.
Been getting a lot of people out.
I did get Casey Sparks on the podcast about 8 months ago, something like that, and she was single. But ever since then, it has changed a smidge, man. So you found each other, and did you guys get married? Is that what happened?
No, we're not married, but hey. Easy, pal.
all right. I'm jumping the gun here. All right. Well, I look forward to hearing when they're coming. Are we heading down that path? Is that what's going on? I know. Don't push it, man. Don't push it. This podcast is over. No, it's nice that you found each other and you have like-minded and like interests. You've made a nice home here in Little Rock. This is sweet. It smells good. It looks good.
Well, thank you.
I'm excited for you, man. You got a good life here. And where do you see, besides playing for 18,000 or more fans, where do you see yourself in the next few years?
Well, I hope always, because this is really my favorite thing to do is to write more songs and record more music and keep doing what I'm doing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a good life, and I agree. So,
How many songs do you think you have in your repertoire?
I had a running tally of them, and then my computer got hacked and I lost the file. But and these are only songs that I would consider playing for somebody at this point.
Right.
Because, if you're writing songs for as long as I have, you've got some stinkers that you remember having written, but you would never perform them out in public. So I think I was up around 85 songs at the last tally.
85, man. That's hours and hours of music. That's 6 hours of music or more.
I could bore people to sleep if I wanted to.
No, man. That means you could change it up. If you do 3 shows in a row, it won't be the same show because you have that versatility.
Definitely,
Fantastic.
I've got some deep wells to choose songs from at this point.
Yeah. Where do the people find you online?
Well, I've got a Reverb Nation account. Of course, I'm on Facebook. And let's see, I've got a SoundCloud. There's a lot of my music on SoundCloud.
Yeah. Spell Danny Rains.
D-A-
Is it all under Danny Rains?
Yeah, I think it all is, yeah. DANNYRAINS, just like the weather.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Everybody
easy
wants
peasy.
to put an E in it, but...
Yes. I was going that way myself in my head.
Yeah.
All right, man. Now that people know where to find you, I'll definitely put those links in the show notes. Let people know how to get a hold of Danny Rains. And
Great.
what kind of events are you up for? Or, I mean, if people want to hire you out for what? Weddings, bar mitzvahs,
Tap
corporate
dancing,
events?
anything. Yeah.
Tap dance? You'll even learn that, too. Make balloon animals.
I won't learn it, but I'll do it.
But you'll do it. That's right. All right. As we're rounding this out, man, any last words for the people, Danny Rains?
Stay cool, guys.
Well, there you have it, party people. Danny Rains. And then we had a little surprise guest star, Casey Sparks. Yes, they're hanging together. They're in a couple situation. I like it. I like it when people find each other, especially these two. They got interests. They both like to make the music, write the songs that make the whole world sing. And after the podcast, they did take me to their little art studio. They have an art studio right there in their home, and then they got the recording studio as well, where Danny and Casey make the magic on the music side. Yeah, and then Danny Rains, he treated me to a performance of one of his original songs. Yes, just for me. That's right, and you didn't get to hear it. So nah. If you want to hear Danny Rains, I encourage you to follow him on social media and find him on the SoundCloud and Spotify and all those cool places. But more than that, if you're in the Little Rock, Arkansas area, I encourage you to go see a show. Support your local musicians. Support local artists. The way you support them is by going to the shows. Not just that. I mean, you buy some food at their venues or go to the merch table and buy yourself a CD or a T-shirt. Show off to people that you were at the Danny Rains show. Yeah, you were there. You saw it all. You seen it. Thank you so much, Danny Rains, for being on the program, What Makes You Famous. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. If you like what you hear, follow What Makes You Famous social media. Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Follow on Facebook at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Instagram at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Twitter at Makes Famous. And follow on YouTube at Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Famous podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Famous podcasts on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and almost anywhere you find podcasts. Tell your story on my podcast, What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time. You can support What Makes You Famous using the PayPal link, paypal.me /KeysDan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Famous podcast is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening. Radio What? The music you want with some great quotes. If you're going through hell, keep going. Winston Churchill. The music you want. RadioWhat.com.
Hey, Keys Dan. What you doing?
My line.
I'm playing the best music by request. 24 hours a day. Click on the request tab at the top of RadioWhat.com.
RadioWhat.com.